Hi friends, I'm Karoline and you're listening to Calls and Walks, the podcast. Now grab a cup of tea and get comfy or put your shoes on and come outside for a walk. Either way, welcome to this week's episode. Once again, good morning to everyone, and this is the second episode of Calls and Walks, the podcast. It is currently Saturday and it's the March 9th. March the 9th. Whatever, it's 9/3/2024, whatever. It's 6:24 p.m. and I have been delaying recording this episode because I've been thinking about topics to talk about, and I wanted to talk about project starting, and then I wanted to talk about long distance, which it's something really close to me because I mentioned my boyfriend in the last episode. So I want to talk about that, I think. But I think we'll see where this episode takes us. Just grab a cuppa, and this is not an episode that I think is gonna have a specific really topic, but it's just gonna be really very relaxed because it's the kind of evening. And I think this day kind of calls for a little bit of silence and a soft-spoken podcast episode. I know it's morning for you, but I think we all need kind of a slow morning. So I don't know, there's so many topics that I have in my head, and I have about 60 topics that I have written down physically on paper because I'm not really a digital thingies kind of girly. I love my offline things, which is what I told my boyfriend, because I told him that I spent 10 euros on a driving school book, and he was like, just do it online. And I was like, I'm not an online thing kind of a girl. I really like my offline thingies, and also you can write down the topics offline when you're at school. And I go to school. Hi to all of my fellow students. I study the second year of high school. I really can't wait to finish it. Can't wait to be on the way to become a doctor or any kind of medical person. So just take this episode as a little friendly chat. It's a friendly chat for me too, because the last week I've had spring holidays. I have not seen my morning walk in a bit, but that's okay. I've been delaying recording this episode for kind of a lot of time. I said I would record it on Friday, and then I didn't. And I said to myself that I would record it today, but I went out for lunch with my mum and my sisters. Hi, yes, I have 4 younger sisters, so it's kind of a blast. Sharing a room with the 2 of them, and I'm the oldest. Hi. By the way, shout out to all of my oldest daughters out there. It's a blast, really. And shout out to all my girlies and women out there, because happy International Women's Day. That was on Friday, but we're gonna skip that. Also shout out to my dad and to all the dads out there, and I mean dads, not fathers, because it's such a cliche thing to say and you hear it everywhere, but everyone can become a father, but it takes a special kind of man to be a dad. And so shout out to all the dads out there, because especially if you have a daughter or an older really daughter that's about my age. I'm 17, and me and my dad are not very close, but I know that he's on my side, and I know that I can always count on him. And I wish I told him that earlier. And I also wish I hugged my mum more, because yeah, sometimes you don't realize that when you're going through a rough patch with your parents, they're also going through a rough patch with you. It's not really, and I haven't realized either, because when you're a teenager, when you're growing up, there will be rough patches, and it's not really necessarily bad. I had therapy. I went through about 6 months of therapy, and it was a blast of time. It was not always a blast of time, but in the end, it's been a blast of time. And my therapist said that if a person is growing up in a normal way and the relationship is going well with their parents, that the rough patches are kind of normal. They have to occur. That's why a toddler has this kind of temper tantrum, this kind of phase in their life when they're throwing temper tantrums and they're being like really, really hard to deal with. Because the child has to learn how to, get away from the mother. And without the fight, it's not really gonna happen, And my therapist said that, if the mother is great, if the child is great, none of them really wants to leave. But the child is going, when you have a child that's a toddler, they, in that time, go to kindergarten. So they have to learn how to, function without their parents. And it's the same for us teenagers. So if you're having a rough patch, it's okay. It happens to the best of us. Happens to everyone, and it's kind of natural. It has to happen. And my therapist said it's because, we have to get away from the parents a bit, and our bodies and the biology, is preparing us to, have a certain independency. And but that's the more important point. If the relationship is healthy, the curve of the relationships, they're gonna meet again, okay? You don't just grow apart forever. That's an unhealthy growth, and we don't want that to happen. But just, if you're having a rough patch, it's okay. And maybe, I know you're full of anger and maybe sadness, and I spent months crying about my mom because we had a really rough patch, kind of. And I still feel like crying thinking about it now. I listened to Taylor Swift's All Too Well, and I've related certain parts to my mom. But it was something so necessary for me to, because I was getting into high school at that point, I think, and it was a step for me, kind of independence. But now we're growing back together, I think, which is really amazing, and I hope you feel the same. Mom, if you're listening to this, hi. It's a blast to have you by my side, and I do not want to cry today. This is not a sobby episode, which means that I'm just gonna talk about shout out to all the moms too, because having a growing woman next to you, your daughter is, and she is a growing woman, she's becoming her own person, and maybe you see your own mistakes in her and you try so desperately to save her. You try to so desperately to not let her make the same mistakes as you did. But some of us need the mistakes. We need a hard slap from the ground to know how to deal with the world. And you can't protect us forever, even if it would be a blast. And I see with my younger sisters too, I want to protect them, but I know that I can't, and it makes me cry sometimes. That you see it out in the world, and people are really cold, and they're really harsh. And I've been through so much. I've been through a lot with the world, society, and the social media age. And people are crueler than they used to be, I think, because now everyone thinks that they're entitled to sharing their opinions and screaming it in people's faces. but I can't protect my younger siblings, my younger sisters especially. I don't have a brother. I always wished I had a brother. I always wanted an older brother, and I always say it to my boyfriend, and he's like, I can be your older brother, you know? And I'm like, yeah, that's a blast. Thank you. My boyfriend is a sweetheart. Hi, if you're listening to this. I know you're listening to this, so hi. Back to mom and dad and all that. I think that's where I'm gonna go with the episode, and I hope some of y'all are still listening, because I feel like this is a really... I'm hoping that this is kind of a difficult topic that I'm managing to put out to the world in a softer kind of way. Because like I said, this is a friendly chat. This is just me giving you a small tour of my head into my mind. And I really hope that you're gonna think about whatever I say. I mean, not like think about, like spend your every waking moment thinking about what I say in here. But yeah. So shout out to all the moms too, because I know that it's hard. I mean, I'm not a mother, but it's hard for me too. It's hard for us daughters too. And I know it's hard for you too. I'm not sure if any moms are listening to this, but just to get it out in the world. And if any oldest daughters are listening to this, or if any daughters at all are listening to this, and maybe they have a rough patch with their moms or dads, just, it's okay. And I know it feels horrible, because especially if you've been very close with your mom. I was very close with her when I was about 13 to 15, and we had our fallings out, we had our ups and downs. I've been hugging her a lot lately, and I think it's what I need. And I really missed her. You know, being a daughter and growing up or being a child and growing up, it's not really easy. It's full of not knowing, and even if your parents, and they do try, I know they do try to prepare you for everything, but theory is not everything. And I know that my parents would love to protect me forever, but you know, I need to get burned, I need to get hurt to, you know, test out all that's been said to me in theory. And there's not really any other way to do it than to just, you know, go out in the world. And just, I know that it's hard for you daughters growing up, but it's hard for your mom too. It's not just hard for you, it's not like you're the only one sitting in bed thinking about the conversations you had, about the fights you had. You're not the only one. I know that from my mom. I know how she is. And I know that I'm not the only one who sits at night and thinks. And just daughters out there, or any kids at all, even if you're a son, just, I know it's hard, and I know you sometimes don't feel like it, and all your head is saying, oh my god, I wish I was out of this house. Oh, I wish I could move out. Oh, I'm so sick of my parents. Yeah, sometimes it does feel like that. Sometimes you just throw a tantrum and you lock yourself in your room and you stare at the suitcase and you're like, oh my god, I wish I could move out and just, you know, have a break. Because it's really hard. Because you have a mom that's, she herself is growing, you know, and she herself is healing things from her own past, and you're healing things from yourself, and you're just two people that are healing themselves. And hurt people, okay? And you don't have to do it on purpose. nobody hurts people on purpose, unless you're a really bad person. But just to be clear, sometimes you get a thought like, oh, I don't know, I just want to bring this up to make that person suffer as much as I do. But it's what you do that counts. Thinking about it doesn't make you a bad person. And sometimes not even doing it makes you a bad person. We all have our reasons to feel bad, and the biggest problem is when you don't heal those reasons and then you continue to hurt people. But growing up in a house with a mom, or a parent as well, really, and B, with siblings, and especially being an older sibling or an oldest, you have this kind of pressure on you to be an example for your sisters, or, you know, kids in general. And you have this really pressure that maybe you put on yourself. Maybe it was put on you, maybe not on purpose, maybe on purpose. But it's really hard growing up in, especially a full household. I have 4 younger sisters and 2 parents. So, and we're all our own people, dealing with things and thinking about things and fixing things. And sometimes we clash in certain areas of our healing and our fixing and our dealing with things in general. And sometimes we hurt each other, especially, and it's not hard. You know, it's not hard to hurt someone when you're hurting yourself. I hurt people on accident, when I don't want to, when I'm just mad, and somebody sort of always ends up hurt. Because that's the thing, just because you're sharing a household for so many years, it doesn't mean that your healing strategies and methods and languages, not even your love languages, they don't have to be compatible. And there are so many things. Dealing with someone who has unhealed issues, whether they're long-term or short-term, it's not easy, because you can't just... Sometimes I wish I could see into people's minds, and sometimes I wish I had the perfect version of the person in front of me. Sometimes I wish I could deal with a perfectly healed person, even though I'm not perfectly healed either. But sometimes I just wish I could have a version of a person in front of me. And I really hope that in the audio you can't hear the vibrating of my phone buzzing, because my boyfriend is texting. I said I would mute him, but I didn't. Oopsies. But the point is that you can't have that perfect version, and I wish I could deal with that version of the person, especially when I myself am hurting. I wish there was a perfect version of the person, perfectly healed and just all understanding and all completely, I don't know, everything, that I could heal myself in peace while the other person is fully healed themselves, so they understand my healing methods. But that's not the case. Okay, we all are healing, and we are all healing at the same time, you know, sometimes. So, standing in front of my mom, that is herself healing her own things, and she's doing a marvelous job. And I hope she knows that. And I hope she tells herself that at least once a day. If not, let this be your reminder, Mom, because I think you're doing marvelous. And you're a very great mom. And I don't think I ever told you that out loud, so I'm telling you that now, because better late than never. and I love you. So that's it. And standing in front of someone while you're healing yourself and you're trying all these methods and you know exactly what you need, but that person in front of you is healing themselves too, and their healing methods and your healing methods are just not compatible. So then you end up being two hurt people in front of each other, and the best thing you can do is fall out for a while. Which sometimes, yeah, that's what I think. I think about how my relationship with my mom or my dad would probably improve when I move out. Because being in such close proximity, especially in days like these, because I used to struggle a lot. I used to struggle with depression and anxiety. I still struggle sometimes, but it's better now. But struggling with something and the person in front of you themselves, maybe they're not struggling themselves, but they're worried. And sometimes you can't give the person the satisfaction of, I know how to fix myself. And sometimes they can't fix you either, you know. And sometimes all you need is a dark room and a good sip of water and to just sleep for 12 hours maybe. Or get out of the house and come back a week later, you know, all fixed up and nice. Just to, you know, have a time for yourself only. And especially if you're in a big household, that time is not given to you. You're never alone. You're never in a silent, really place. Because there's always people around you. I can hear my sisters laughing from the other room. I don't know if you can hear that too. I can always hear someone breathing. That sounds creepy, but it's true. I share a room with two sisters, which means there's always someone. Right now, currently, there's nobody in this room, which is a blast. But I can still hear them. I can hear my sisters laughing. I can hear my parents talking. And the solution is not even putting your headphones in, because they don't really cancel it. And if you put music, it's just a little distraction. It doesn't work for me. I just need like a really, really silent room. Or I need to talk, but like out loud and to myself only. Which is why I'm recording this podcast. I felt like I needed to talk out loud, so I'm talking, and I'm talking to you, friends. So anyway, this episode is apparently all about parents and daughters and growing up and sharing a household with people. And I think it's such a stupid idea or opinion that you can't ever get sick of someone you love. You can. We are a big family. Okay, there's 7 people in the household. There's 5 kids, but all of them growing up and living their own lives. And oh boy, let me tell you, the quarantine was not a blast. Oh my god. Especially the first 2 weeks. It's the same with Christmas holidays. Like, I am sick of these people at the end. Like, I cannot wait to go to school. And it's okay. Okay, it's okay to get sick of someone. I mean, of course, not sick like, oh my god, I hate you, I never want to see you again, and you're just pissing me off the whole time. That's not a healthy kind of, you know, feeling. But it's okay to not want to spend 24 hours with someone. And I love my boyfriend so much. He is so precious to me and so amazing. And shout out to him. It's a blast to share this all with him by his side. But I don't text him 24 hours, and I cannot really imagine not having a minute for myself. My sister was just coughing, so if you can hear that, I deeply apologize, but welcome to a big household. I hope it was not too loud, but anyways. And I can't imagine spending 24 hours with my boyfriend, like, fully, like not even a minute. And I'm saying 24 hours, like absolutely 24 hours, like not even going to a bathroom break or something, or not even going out by myself. And that's okay. I mean, yeah, that's the moment where I would love to like call with him 24/7. But at the same time, I go to pee, you know. I go to eat by myself sometimes too. You know, when I'm calling him and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna get dinner, I will be back in whatever minutes. And that's okay, you know, because you're still your own person, and and okay, I'm talking about my boyfriend, but even if with family, what was that word? With family, you don't have to, and I don't think you're even supposed to spend all your time with your family. So even quarantine, oh my god, the first week was doable, but as someone who leaves the house at 6 and comes back around 5 p.m., you can imagine the bad, horrible time I had. And you're not allowed to leave your city. And we live in a small village, which there are pros, don't get me wrong. You can get outside and you can walk and all. But sometimes you just really want to spend time with other people. Like just to get your family out of your system. And my mom always jokes about us leaving after summer holidays, and she's like, oh my god, I'm so excited for you to get out and go to school. And she's like, no, I mean, you know, I'm really glad that, you know, I'm like, yeah, I know, it's okay. It's absolutely okay. Because I guarantee you, if I spend 24 hours with anyone, even with myself for that matter, I will get sick of that person. I will. And I will be very happy to spend the time, you know, at least a few minutes with someone else. Or just doing my own thing. And that also counts, parents, if you're listening to this, any parents at all, or even kids. Just because your kids are going to their room and being on their laptop for a while instead of doing something with you, maybe they're just overstimulated and they just want some time alone. And it's nothing against you. Promise me. I promise you. Do not promise me. But I promise you that it's nothing against you. Yeah, 99% of time, it's nothing against you. But we are just, maybe we've had a rough day, a rough week, or a rough hour, or maybe we just need to recharge our social battery. Some of us, it takes us a bit more to recharge the battery. So we just go to our room and we say, you know, I'm not gonna watch the movie tonight because we just know that it would hurt a lot more than just staying there, and it would hurt us a lot to stay there, because then it would take us a lot more to recharge the battery and we would not enjoy the time really. So if your child just goes out of the room and, I don't know, grabs some popcorn or crisps for themselves and goes to the room and says, you know what, no, I don't want to join you for a trip today, don't take it personally. Most of the time it's nothing about you. It's not at all about you. It's just, maybe, especially if it's like after school or it's the weekend, we've had a lot of schoolwork and people are pissing us off and the teachers are annoying, and maybe we just want to recharge on our own. And even if it's like, oh, they said no to the trip, so we have to go alone, and they're definitely gonna talk to their boyfriend or their friends, it's not because we prefer our friends over you. It's because we need someone else's company. And as much as your parents can be a friend to you, they can never be a friend. I mean, yeah, some relationships are really like that, but at the end of the day, at least for me, I need someone who I don't have to watch how I speak and what I do. And even though my mom is really, really amazing, yeah, there's of course some things that I don't tell her about. Things that I tell my friends, you're not gonna tell your mom who you made out with. I will. Yeah, I will. But that's not the point. The point is that just because we say no to going to a trip with you and then we spend some time with the friends, it just means that we need someone else's company. And it's not because you failed or anything, it's not because you're doing something wrong, it's just that we need someone else's company. Or maybe we know that this person will give us what we need better than you will, and that's okay. You don't have to have different friends for different feelings. Like, oh, I have this friend and I go to her when I want to talk about ABC, and I have this friend and I can't really talk about A to her, but I can talk to her about B, C, D, E, and that's okay. You don't have to spend your time, and you don't have to talk to everyone about everything. And this is slowly merging into 2 episodes, and I want to talk about that in a different episode, about how it's impossible or improbable, really, to have one friend for everything, or even share everything with your significant other. Me and Marco, my boyfriend, we also have different opinions or something. We have different tastes in things. But what makes you a great couple is being able to make A, the best of everything else, and B, love the differences too. You have to love the differences, or at least tolerate them, and not, always push them down. Like, there's things that I don't talk with my mom about because I know that we have a different opinion. So talking to her about it would just lead to a bad discussion or a bad time in general. So it's pointless for me to go and say something like, "Hey mom, my opinion," because I know that she would say a different opinion, and that, it would not be a great discussion. Unless it's a discussion, it's a thing that we both can lead a discussion about, in peace, and it's, something like that. But I'm gonna talk about that in a different episode, why it's okay to have different friends for different things, and it doesn't make you a fake person. It doesn't mean that you change personalities with people. You're just a really, really complex person, and just like your friends most probably don't talk to you about everything, you don't have to talk to them about absolutely everything. That's why we're human beings. We are very complex, and we also need complex relationships. And you can have a really complex relationship with someone else, with one other person. But I honestly don't have one single person that I would have everything to say to. Like, not even my boyfriend, not even my closest friend, not even a really old friend of mine that I used to talk to from years back. And it took me a lot to understand this, but that's for another episode. We are currently at 35 minutes 50 seconds, and I still have so much to talk. But I'm gonna end this episode with a shout out to my dad, because I know that he's in my corner always. I love you. I love him a lot. And it's a reminder, hug your parents, because whatever is hard on you, between the two of you, between you and your parents, it's definitely hard. Maybe harder on them too. So hug your parents more. I know it takes a lot, and it takes you a bit to warm up. And I hugged my dad yesterday. Well, it's Friday, but when you're listening to this, it's Monday. So I hugged my dad on Thursday because No, it's Saturday. Oh my god, yes. So, yes, I hugged him on Friday because he brought us all a flower for International Women's Day. And I hugged him. It was a short hug, but it was really nice to take that step and to hug him, because I haven't done that in a while. Me and my dad are not really close in the way that me and my mom are close, but no matter what, I know that I can count on him, and that's really great. And I hope he knows that too. If not, I'm gonna tell him. But yes, shout out to dads, and I know that watching your daughters grow up is really hard, because we can be pains in the asses. Yes, we can be pains in the ass. Really, really, I know. But yeah. But hey, we can get some beer and watch football in the future if, you want. But yes, shout out to the dads. Shout out to the moms. I know it's not a blast sometimes, and I know that I can be a pain in the ass. We all can. But yeah, hug your parents a lot. Tell them you love them, or show them. I know sometimes it's not easy to say, especially if you don't say it often. So at least show it. I buy my mom flowers. I like buying my mom flowers because she likes flowers. She likes tulips, and yeah. So remember to show love to everyone around you, even the strangers on the street. But enough about that. I will talk about that in another episode. Stay tuned. But I'm gonna end this episode in about 2 minutes, just to get the 40 minutes mark. So this episode has been all about parental things and kids things and growing up, and there's gonna be so much more episodes about that. Believe me, because I'm growing up. I'm gonna be an adult in a bit, and oh boy, do I have things to talk about. So I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad, and I know that it's hard, but it's hard on both sides. So we appreciate you, parents. We really do. We really do, even though we can be really annoying and hard and all of that sometimes, most of the time. But we love you, and we know you love us too. Okay, we know. We can just be a little difficult about it sometimes, just to keep the fun going. So I hope everyone had a blast in this episode, because I did. And before you end this episode, there's the outro coming up, where you can find out everything about the links to my media. There's YouTube, there's my Instagram and everything. So listen to the outro, and I will see you very soon, friends. And this was today's call. I hope you had a jolly good time, because I did. And before you hang up, check the description box for all the links to my media. And if you liked today's chat, consider joining me for next week's Call and Walk. Bye, friend.